Hello and welcome to Fred's vlog, August 2015. Now in the vlogs I always try and do something different, and this month you're going to join me on a visit to the Odyssey, which is a genuine 1930 Art Deco fully restored cinema. It's a time warp slice of forgotten history. So I hope you enjoy. Now, the 1930s was just such a golden age for cinema. I mean, the buildings themselves were absolutely fantastically beautiful in my eyes. In fact, works of art in their own right. A great period for architecture. And once you got inside the buildings, well, it got even better. The sweeping lines that filled the whole main auditorium. I mean, these weren't sort of multiplexes that you get nowadays. These were large single screens where everyone sat together. The thing was a real visual experience, and that's even before the film started. And of course, nowadays all that's changed. It's all gone. It's not only are all cinemas now multi-screen, it's become characteristic square block buildings. There's nothing to distinguish them from anything else. I mean, it could be a car park for what they look like from the outside. It's just drab and boring when you get on the inside. It's just seats and a screen. Despite this, I still love going to the cinema. Experience isn't always pleasant, and this is sometimes the view that I would get. We're all so crammed in. Often if not, we'd get a family like this sit in front of us and end up having a row halfway through the film. By the time you add up the cost of, say, taking 4 people, plus you're travelling. So like many others, we set up our own home cinema. Now, although we can watch the film in great comfort and also have a drink, it's not quite the same as like going to your local cinema, is it? Now, unfortunately for us, our local cinema was the Odeon in London Road, St Albans, but it's closed down about 17 years ago. We felt that was a real great shame because since 1908, St Albans had always had an active cinema. The first cinema was called the Alpha, and that later became the Poly, before finally becoming the Regent. And unfortunately, the Regent burnt down in 1927. But in 1931, a new cinema, the Capitol, was built in its place. And this is the building that still remains. It was designed by Percival Blow and James Martin Hatfield, in a typical 1930s Art Deco design. Originally, it had a seating capacity of 1,620. But in 1934, the cinema was enlarged to have a capacity of 1,728 seats. Following this conversion, the Capitol Cinema was then sold. It was bought by the General Cinema Finance Company, before being passed on to the Odeon Theatres Limited, who renamed the cinema in 1945, and that was a name that stuck right up until it closed. The Odeon was one of the first batch of cinemas that were selected for tripling, and the new 3-screen complex opened in January 1973. It now had 2 smaller screens of 115 and 129 seats, which were tucked under the balcony circle. Finally, a 4th screen was then added in 1988 in front of the stalls area. The screen was even smaller still. But despite having 4 screens, they still couldn't make the Odeon pay, and it closed for the last time on the 20th of August 1995. After this, the building just simply sat empty, but apparently in good condition. Various proposals have been put forward for reopening the cinema. Unfortunately, the building was owned by a development company, and they wished to demolish the building and use the site for a development of flats. The local people felt quite strongly about this and felt this would be such a shame to close a cinema that had been there since 1908. So in November 2009, it was announced that the Odeon had been purchased by James Hannaway, who had restored the long-closed Rex Cinema in Berkhamsted. In November 2010, a competition was held to decide a new name for the cinema, and the winning entry was Odyssey. This harks back to the Stanley Kubrick 2001 film. Kind of like defines a journey, which is what this cinema has been on. Hannaway then managed to raise funds locally, with £1 million being raised in just over 7 weeks. It tells you how passionate local people were about this cinema. Restoration work began in 2011, and plans were then approved by the local council in March 2013. Subsequent money was then raised, and then the full-scale restoration began in July 2013. A soft reopening took place on the 30th of November 2014, gala reopening on the 13th of December 2014. Once again, a single-screen cinema with seating for 500 plus a cafe and bar. And here we are. Now, to be honest, in the daytime, you just don't get the kind of presence and the majesty of this building. It just doesn't look particularly great in the daytime. But at night, all of this lights up, including this rather wonderful Odyssey sign. And when we come outside, I'll try and capture that before I go home. So now, time to go in, grab our tickets and get our priorities right. I got my pint of beer there from the bar. And then follow these steps downstairs into the lower foyer area. Now, we worked it out, it's been 30 years since we came to this cinema. And at that stage, the cinema was in really bad shape. There was literally paint and plaster flaking from the walls. It was terrible, but they've done a fantastic job on this resto. I mean, the place, well, it's just unrecognisable from compared to what it was. And the level of detail is absolutely fantastic. I mean, a lot of these people volunteered their time. There was a real sense of local community getting this place back together, and they've done a really, really good job. I mean, just check out the seating situation here down in the lower tier. You've got individual tables where you can bring your drinks and snacks back from the bar, and really comfortable seats. There's just this sort of kind of majesty, this ambience about the place. It's just, it's how cinema really should be. And the thing is, you're not really paying any more for this experience. I mean, tickets are around about £10 each. You're paid out at any sort of multi-complex cinema. You just want to get this kind of nostalgia, this kind of retro feel. This makes the whole experience feel that much more special. It feels like a proper night out. We didn't take a table this time. We took these sofas up at the top tier, which is where we used to sit. Now look at this, look, just check out the legroom. I'm a bit fussy about legroom, but I can fully stretch my legs here and not even touch the back of the chair in front. I mean, that is really, really good. Just blown away with the level of detail. I mean, there's still a few things they've got to do. You know, visiting the toilet here, if you don't mind, just for a minute. You know, as you can see as you move across, they've still got a mirror to put in place and one or two little fixings which they haven't quite got round to. But overall, the finish and the quality is pretty outstanding for a cinema. Now, if we look through this window of a service door here, you can see how decrepit and crumbly this building had become. It's really been neglected, really to the left to rack and ruin. So it's just amazing the amount of work they've done to bring this cinema back into use. So, at the risk of getting kicked out, here's just a few seconds of the screen itself.
You give me shit for it? Oh, no, you're right. No, Johnny, it's fine. You're right, it's fine. It's totally fine. I got no job, no marriage, and no life, but you have fun talking Gollum here while I'm left with shit. Ted!
Who's Gollum?
Oh, she's a model. Ted, come back! Leave me alone! Ted!
Ted!
Okay, it was a silly film, but it was a fun film. That was Ted 2. Right, back outside now, and I wanted to show you this when it's lit up at night. It just looks so retro, so 1930s. I think it's just great with, you know, old buildings being demolished all the time for supermarkets, things like that. That this one has been saved, this one has been preserved as a one-screen cinema, as it should be. So, that just about wraps up this vlog. It's been a bit different. Hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, I'll catch you on the next one. But as for now, as always, cheers, thanks for watching.